Hi, my name's Deborah Sharpe. I've recently retired from M&S, where I spent the last 3 years of my life as the head of technology for clothing, but where I started my career over 30 years ago as a fabric technologist. As a child, my mother was always doing crafts, making clothes, and I guess you could say it rubbed off on me. However, I never studied textiles at school. When I was at school, textiles were seen as a bit of a soft subject, and I was advised that I could do better. Little did they know that I'd have a very successful career in textiles. In many ways, that was thanks to good luck, but also a lot of hard work. I was destined to study geography at university, but fate gave me a nasty shock and I failed my geography A-level. Left me with no choice, a little choice of doing something else or staying at home in resit, and I wasn't doing that. So I started to look for something else to do. I'd applied to Leicester Polytechnic to do something completely different, and again fate took over and I was approached by the School of Textiles to join their BSc Textile and Knitwear Technology course. This sounded quite interesting because I'd always had an enjoyment of sewing and crafts, and my A-levels were science, so I thought that the combination of crafts and a science would be probably quite a good fit for me. It's fair to say I had no idea that you could study a degree in textiles. It was a 4-year course with a 3rd year in industry, and for that year I went to Scotland, to a tiny village in the borders of Scotland, where I worked for a company called Ballantyne, who sadly no longer exist, but made very high-end intarsia knitwear in cashmere mainly. It was an interesting company. I learned a lot about intarsia knitwear, where I spent a lot of time in each of the different departments. It was an interesting year. It certainly challenged me in terms of living in a very small, tight-knit community, but I also knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do. So when I returned to university for my 4th year, I got my head down, got my degree, and then thought, what am I going to do next? I wasn't really sure, if I'm honest, but I quite liked the sound of buying. It sounded very glamorous, and it was also based in London. Yet again, fate stepped in, and I was one of 6 students to attend an open day at M&S, but for the technical function. If I'm honest, I probably wasn't that keen because I thought it would mean working in the lab testing things, and I really didn't fancy that sort of career. But having spent the day with them, I realised that it was working in buying departments with the buyers, the designers and the merchandisers developing the product. Now that sounded much more glamorous. Luckily, I was selected for the graduate training scheme, and as a trainee fabric technologist, I was placed in the lingerie team. The role of the fabric technologist in M&S is to innovate and develop new fabric and ideas, working with the buyers and designers to deliver it into new product. We'd work closely with the fibre and yarn suppliers on the latest developments, and with fabric suppliers and garment manufacturers on new ideas, bringing everybody together to create new and different products that hopefully customers wanted to buy. We'd specify the standards required, such as the seam strength, the colour fastness, the washing temperature, and work with suppliers to ensure that these were met to our requirements. We'd follow the product from concept through to finished product in store, and then analyse the returns and the complaints to understand how to improve the product, and if necessary, get involved in removing it from stores if it wasn't good enough. We were constantly looking to make the product better and move it forward, to make it different, or indeed to follow trend in fashion. It required a combination of technical yet creative skills, plus a lot of communication and persuasion. The role involved travel, initially in the UK and in Europe, but as textiles started to develop more and more in Asia, so our travel became much more extensive and worldwide. I've had the fortune of visiting countries such as India, Sri Lanka, Hong Kong, China, Thailand and Bangladesh, to name a few. They were very exciting times. Glamorous, maybe. Exhausting, definitely, but also great fun and very rewarding. From lingerie, I moved into ladies' wear, where I spent a large portion of my time in M&S. I worked in nearly every department, but I think it's probably fair to say that the trouser department was my favourite. Not only did I work with a great bunch of people, and I have to say that's really important in a career, but it was at the time when trouser sales were booming. Believe it or not, Lycra was only just being introduced into clothing. We introduced the first ranges of leggings, of stretch denim and of two-way stretch trousers. They were all hugely successful, and we also introduced the first ranges containing tencel and lyocell. and I travelled to the USA to see the fibre being produced. From trousers, I moved into a specialist role as cotton specialist and again travelled to the USA to visit the cotton fields. It was during this time our thoughts in M&S were starting to move towards organic cotton, and we had our first foray into sustainability. Whilst visiting the cotton fields, I also visited organic cotton fields, and it was very interesting to see the difference in the variety of flora and fauna that were there. That was back in the early 1990s. From cotton specialist, I moved into the buying departments of women's wear and children's wear. I gradually moved up the career ladder, becoming technical manager and eventually head of technology. I was responsible for all the fabric, garment and product technologists that we had. It's fair to say it was hugely varied and exciting and very rewarding, yet I only worked for one company, because actually every time I moved department it was like working for a new company. In between all of this, I was able to have very lovely 3 children and a 12-month career break. As a career in the field of fabric technology has always been quite small, and as the textile industry in the UK has declined, it's sad to say that jobs it supports have also declined. However, with the importance of sustainability emerging and its desire for companies to have a point of difference, then roles in fabric technology are growing again, and I really think it's a very exciting opportunity. The routes into these roles may not have been direct as mine were, but equally there are exciting opportunities, and there are also roles in garment and product technology where you incorporate the knowledge of fabric at the same time. With product and garment technology, you get involved in the manufacture of garments and in the fit of garments too. Where I left M&S in 2019 pre-pandemic as a result of restructuring. It was sad, but it was also welcome because I needed a fresh start. I've subsequently become involved in upcycling of furniture, taking old furniture and giving new life to product. I do this to earn money and also in a volunteer capacity. I'm learning upholstery and I'm thoroughly enjoying a more relaxed lifestyle that my job has allowed me to have. In summary, I'd say that my journey from school to where I am now has involved a great deal of luck and fate, as well as a lot of hard work. Just because things don't always go according to plan does not mean that life is over. If I hadn't failed my geography A-level, I wouldn't have studied a textile career. I wouldn't have joined M&S, and I wouldn't have been able to travel the world as extensively as I have. Sometimes fate plays a part in giving you a leg up in the direction you should be going, but you don't quite know it. Good luck to you all, and thank you for listening.